everyone, how's it going? Laura here. So in this video I pretty much broke down everything you should know about doing your own makeup. I did get to answer a lot of questions that I get asked a lot about just simple stuff that I feel like everyone should know. And if you just want to improve the way you do your own makeup, if you want to know more tips and tricks of how to do it, if you want lists of products that you should be using or recommendation of products, then just keep on watching because I do get to touch up on all of that. Also, I do want to mention that this video is mostly focused on complexion, so like foundation, powder, bronzer, everything that's complexion I touch up on here in depth, but as far as like eyeshadow and eyeshadow looks, I'm not going to be doing any of that, as you guys can see. If you are interested in anything about the eyes or eyeshadow looks, I do recommend you guys to go check out my other videos. I do have more videos where I go really in depth on how to do eyeshadows or eyeshadow blending, so I highly recommend you guys to go check those out. If you guys have any recommendations for me of what videos you guys want to see or what videos I should film for this channel, just leave them down below or just contact me through DM on Instagram. I am really active on there, so I'm going to be putting right here my Instagram handle so you can go ahead and follow me. But yeah, that's if you want to see more of me and you want to see tips and tricks and you want to see more pictures and just a lot more knowledge. It's in my Instagram, so I just recommend you guys to go follow me if you want to see more of that. I'm gonna let you guys go ahead and watch the video. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up, share it, and of course subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this. All right, so first things first. Ready. Okay, so we're gonna start from the very beginning, and well, I guess I already started. So I prepped my skin, and I always tell people that if you don't have a skincare routine or you don't cleanse your skin or exfoliate like once or twice a week, then you really need to get it going, because that really makes a huge difference in your makeup application. And I feel like people really do underestimate the power of skincare until they try it and they're like, why the hell have I not been doing this my entire life? So if you do not have a skincare routine, go find one right now. Trust me. I already cleanse my skin. I also moisturize and apply my SPF. SPF is something I never skip, even though my foundation that I'm using today does have SPF. I never ever skip SPF. So make sure you always apply your sunscreen because it's very important. So like I said, I already cleansed my skin. I applied my moisturizer. I waited a couple of minutes and then I went ahead and applied my sunscreen. So now I'm just gonna apply my primer, and the one I'm using is the Becca First Light priming filter. This is the primer that I've been using for a little bit right now. It's been working out for me because I do have dry skin and I like the luminosity or the luminous look. So this is the one I've been using, and it's been really making my makeup just look amazing and luminous and dewy, and I just absolutely love that. So also, I do have to say, every single primer out there is different depending for what skin type it is. Like I said in the beginning of the video, you do have to almost make an assessment of your skin and see where your skin falls. So is it oily? Is it dry? Is it normal? If it's normal, you're pretty lucky because you can probably use just any primer out there that it's just good for, you know, basically making your makeup stay longer. But if you have oily skin, you do have to find one that is mattifying because it's going to help to keep your skin matte all day long. And if you have dry skin, I would recommend one that is more hydrating so your foundation doesn't latch onto the dry patches or anything like that. So again, it's all about the skin prep and skincare, so just it all comes back to that. I always let my primer like sink into my pores, so I always wait a couple of minutes before I apply my foundation so it's already dry. You always want to tap your skin to see if the primer is pretty dry, and once it is, you can go ahead and apply your foundation. So the foundation I'm using today is the Infallible L'Oreal 24-Hour Fresh Wear. It's the one that I've been using every day because it's really affordable, it's breathable, and it's not making my skin break out. So anything that doesn't make my skin break out, I absolutely love. And I'm going to be applying it with the ELO Cosmetics 220 buffing foundation brush. Again, I will be linking all of this down below. How I apply it is I tap it into my skin first, and then I pretty much do circle motions because I do want to blend it in. The tapping motions is just going to make sure that you are applying enough product for coverage. So when you tap it, you're applying coverage, and then when you swirl around, you're blending it into your skin and you're removing any streaks that the brush might have left behind. So around my nose area, because the nose is an area where the foundation would usually crumple up and be removed pretty much by after like an hour or so, I always do circular motions on my nose. And of course, if you do want to apply a little bit more coverage on it, just apply the foundation and then go in with your circular motion so you can just like really blend it into the skin, because again, the edges of the nose are ones that are always going to be a problem. Also, I want to add, people always ask me if they should apply their foundation with a brush or a sponge. I think that's personal preference. A lot of people apply it with a beauty blender or a damp sponge because it does apply very nicely and evenly. But in my opinion, I feel like the beauty blender does absorb a lot of the product even when it's damp. So I don't like using the sponge for my foundation, to be honest with you. And I feel like it doesn't give me enough coverage as with a brush. Also, I always like to let people know as well that if you ever feel like you need a little bit more coverage on certain areas of your face, you can always go back with more foundation and just apply it on that specific area. You don't have to put foundation all over your face again, because we don't want to look like we're wearing 20 pounds of makeup. We want to make it look like it's very natural but also very covered and even. So if you ever feel like there's an area where you have a little bit more concerns and you want to cover more, just go back with more foundation in that area. So for concealer, I'm gonna go in with my all-time favorite concealer of all time. It has the fullest coverage of any concealer I've ever tried, and it lasts a really long time. I do believe it is waterproof because every time I apply it on the back of my hand and I don't remove it, when I go wash my hands, it doesn't come off. So it is waterproof. It's very, very full coverage, and you only need a little bit of it. So the tube is going to last you a very long time. So it's like you get a lot for your money. I love products that give you what you need and want, and you don't need to use like the entire tube. So another thing I get asked all the time, how much concealer should I apply? It really depends how your under eye is. Like if you feel like you need more coverage, then of course just go in with more concealer. I like to apply it this much. I don't like to apply concealer on my nose and my forehead and my chin. That's just not something I do because I do feel like it makes my makeup look really cakey. Instead, I just use powder to highlight those areas, but I do not go in with concealer. So to blend out my concealer, I'm going to be using a Morphe damp sponge. You can also use a beauty blender. I do feel like the Morphe sponge is very, very similar to the beauty blender. It might be just like the tiniest bit stiff, but for me it works exactly the same. So that's what I'm going to be using. And I'm just going to tap that in. And a tip and a trick is, if you feel like you ever apply too much concealer, you can take whatever you have on the sponge and apply it on whatever areas you need a little bit more coverage. So in my case, I really need coverage on my cheeks, so that is why I apply the concealer a little bit more down over here, because I do need more coverage right there. So pretty much any excess that you have on your damp sponge, you just take it and apply it on another area of your face where you feel like you need more coverage. Oh, and something I forgot to mention, another way you can apply your concealer and how you can know if you're applying enough. I see a lot of people applying their concealer like right over here. Don't do that. I mean, you can, but you need to create the illusion that you're bringing everything up and you're illuminating the under eye. So what I recommend is doing the triangle. So the triangle is from here, go down, and then outwards and up. So here, down, and upwards. Here, down, and upwards. The triangle. Also, never forget to bring your concealer up to your lid, because you do have discoloration on your eyelid, and if you're not a person that wears eyeshadow on a daily basis, you do want to make sure you cover that, and concealer does a great job at doing that. So just always make sure you bring the concealer up onto your lid. Okay, so time for setting powder. This is probably my favorite part because I do have a million setting powders. I've tried so many setting powders over the years, so honestly I'm not going to sit here and tell you about each and every one of them because I do have a lot and I do love a lot. So I'm just going to give you like a quick rundown of setting powder. So I feel like a lot of people don't know the importance of applying translucent setting powder underneath your eyes and on the areas where you need your makeup to stay longer. For me, that is always going to be the under eye, and I'm pretty sure for you as well. People always ask me, why does my concealer run off like after an hour? Well, maybe it's because you didn't set it the correct way with a setting powder. You need to set your concealer with a setting powder if you want your concealer to last. It's as simple as that. You have to set it. And I always go over my forehead, my nose, and my chin, and just this area right over here, because it is the area that we tend to touch the most, even though we don't mean to. We might just go like this, we might touch our face, and we really need that shit to stay. So we're gonna set all of that. So I do want to give you a few setting powders that are amazing, and you can pick any one of these and I'm pretty sure they're going to work amazing for you. The one that I've been using lately is the Fenty Beauty Butter. I feel like it's very finely milled and it just leaves my skin looking like literal butter, like a baby's butt. Like it looks so smooth, and it just, everything else after that applies very nicely and very evenly. So I am currently loving this one. Second one is my Kat Von D translucent powder. I use this for the longest time ever, and honestly I still go back and forth between this one and the Kat Von D setting powder. It is absolutely amazing, and I do feel like it has like this tiny particles of like luminosity, so it doesn't make your skin look completely matte, but all you gotta know is that it does make your skin look extremely smooth, and it makes your skin smooth for a long time. So this setting powder is amazing for longevity. If you need to stay looking smooth and flawless for a long period of time, this setting powder is absolutely amazing. It's awesome. I recommend it to everyone. It's really good. No flashback, just smooth. It smooths out the pores. Oh my god, that's what I forgot to say. This setting powder does smooth out the pores amazingly, and it just creates a like blurred effect, like that real life Facetune effect. So again, love this thing. And last but not least, the RCMA no color setting powder. This is not how it comes. It actually comes like in a container that looks like a salt or pepper shaker, so you just like dispense that and whatever it is that you're gonna apply your powder and just apply it. But I feel like it is easier to have it in this little container because I can just easily pick it up with my sponge and just set my face like that. So it doesn't come like this, it comes in a salt and pepper shaker, but I will be linking all of this down below for you guys to go check it out. But this one is amazing if you do tend to perspirate. If you tend to sweat a lot, this setting powder is awesome. It does control any oiliness or any like sweatiness. If you do tend to sweat very fast when you put your makeup on, this setting powder is absolutely amazing because it does control that throughout the hours. I'm not gonna say like it's gonna keep your skin matte forever, but it's awesome for oily skin, or for just anyone that tends to sweat a lot when they do apply makeup, or for when those really hot days come, like in the summer. Girl, trust me, you're gonna need the RCMA. I feel like in the summer I use this powder non-stop because it helps so much to keep my skin matte all day long, and it doesn't make it look dry either. So if that's something you're looking for, the RCMA, also super affordable. I think it's like 13 bucks, so get on that shit. Okay, so now I'm gonna stop talking about the setting powders and just going to set my face. So today I'm using the Fenty Beauty, like I said, and I'm dispensing a little bit on a napkin or a tissue. Okay, the two things I use to set my face. I use my sponge, damp sponge, and I use my big powder brush. And again, this is from ELO Cosmetics. This is the 121, I think it's called tapered powder brush. But I do not use any other type of powder brush to apply my powder. I feel like the tapered ones are amazing because you can get on all the nooks and crannies to make sure everything is set. I don't like using brushes that are too big because I just don't feel like it gets on all the little spots that I really need to make sure that it does set it. So I always like to go in with a tapered powder brush like this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the powder with my damp sponge on this edge. This is another reason why I really love the Morphe sponge, because it does have this shape over here, so it does give you like this really sharp cut right here, which I find it amazing for you to bake underneath your eyes. So Laura, should I bake my face every single day? Absolutely not. You don't have to. I always tell people you do not have to bake. I feel like this is a trend that was on Instagram and now everybody thinks they have to bake, but that is not the case. What I mean with baking is pretty much applying your setting powder underneath your eyes or on your T-zone and just leaving it there and then dusting it off. I do that when I go out because it gives me an amazing highlight effect, and if you want to do that, that's absolutely amazing. Just make sure you're doing it the right way. If you're gonna do it, it is pretty much doing the same thing I am doing right now, but instead of keeping to press on the product into my skin, I just leave the powder right on top like that, and I just dust it off with my powder brush. But instead, what I'm doing today, and what I do mostly every day, is I take the powder on my sponge like that, and I literally just press it onto my skin instead of just leaving it there. I make sure that with that edge of the sponge, I set this little nook right here around my nose, because like I said when I was setting my face or applying my foundation, this area right here tends to be really problematic on making makeup stay there. So I always take setting powder with the sponge and just make sure I apply it right on that little corner right there, and my makeup never moves out of that spot. So again, for my smile lines, I'm going to be taking the sponge again and just applying it right there and pressing it into my skin, because that's another area where I need to make sure it doesn't crack, or if it is going to crack, it takes longer to crack. Okay, so as you can see, I am just pressing that product into my skin. This technique works amazing, again, if you want to make your makeup last longer. I do feel like when you press that powder into your skin and into the foundation, it just sets it in place and make sure it doesn't move for literally 12-15 hours. Like, I've done it, it works. So always grab a sponge. It doesn't have to be damp, but I do recommend using it damp. You can grab a powder puff and just press that onto your skin. Just make sure that you're finding a way to press the powder into the skin to make sure that you are setting that foundation in place. Also for me, because I do have acne prone skin and I do have a little bit of texture, I've found that this technique really helps with my texture, especially if you have like enlarged pores. Using a powder puff or a sponge to set your face, like to apply the powder, is life-changing, because it almost like fills in the texture and it just makes it look less visible. So that is actually another reason why I don't like going with my concealer on my forehead, my nose, and my chin, because when I go back and I set that with the setting powder, you're just applying way too many layers of makeup. Again, in my opinion, I just feel like that looks really cakey, and I don't like that for an everyday look. So that is why I like pressing it onto my skin and just making sure that it just almost melts into the foundation and into the complexion. That way it just lasts longer and it helps with the texture. So next off, I'm going to be grabbing my tapered powder brush and picking up that powder that I have on my tissue, just dusting that all over my face, especially on the areas that I didn't cover with the sponge. So in my case, I like to apply a lot over here, because I do need to make sure that area of my skin is pretty set and it just doesn't move, because again, it's the area that tends to come off easier. Also, with this technique, you are pretty much dusting off any excess powder that the sponge might have left behind. So you're just making sure that you don't have excess powder on top of your skin so it doesn't look cakey. So like another thing that I feel about baking is, for every day, like I honestly don't know how people bake every single day. Like, I don't have time to bake every single day. You guys just saw how I set my face. That literally took me less than 1 minute. For me to just like leave the powder there and just wait until it bakes and then take it off, like it's just too much for me. Okay, so I zoomed in a little bit because I want to show you how I do my eyebrows. And for my eyebrows, I use the brow definer by Anastasia. This is in the shade medium brown. I do have black hair, so this works perfect for me. If you guys have never used the brow definer and you have used the brow wiz, honestly, just try the brow definer one day, because it is absolutely amazing. And I personally like it way better than the brow wiz, just because of the brow wiz, it's so thin and I feel like I go through it like crazy, and for me to fill in my whole eyebrows with just the brow wiz is just not enough for me. I like my eyebrows to be really full and filled in, so I just feel like this makes it super easy to do that. So again, what I like about this brush is that it already has the shape almost of your eyebrow, so it's angled and it is pretty thick. So what I like to do is I like to point the angle towards the area where you're gonna be working with, or yeah, so you're pretty much going to be following the natural growth of your eyebrow hairs. So obviously my eyebrow hairs on this side are growing to that side, and my eyebrows on my right side are going towards my right side. So that is pretty much the motion that you're going to be doing. So the brow definer is already angled, so I feel like it makes it super easy for you guys to do your eyebrows because it already has the shape. You don't have to angle your arm in a really weird way. All you're gonna do is point the angle towards where you're gonna draw. So on my left side, my eyebrow hairs grow to the left. So that is exactly how I'm going to point the angle on the brow definer. And I always like to start on my inner corner eyebrow, like the beginning of my eyebrow. So I do this motion like this, and remember I always go back with the spoolie just to make sure that I'm blending that out because I don't want any harsh edges. And as you can see, I just twisted it because this tip over here gets super thin. So in other words, you can get the effect of the brow wiz with the brow definer. You just gotta practice and you have to learn how to use it. It's honestly an amazing product. So I really do recommend it if you just want that quick, easy brow. I'm gonna keep going, doing those motions, and as you can see, my inner brow, it's already kind of filled in. So that is when I'm going to be taking, again, grabbing it like this, so the angle pointing towards the direction of your hair growth, and I'm going to fill in the top. Now I have this problem over here where I am missing hair and I'm letting it grow out, so I don't know if a miracle happens, my hair will grow there, but I always have to fill that in so they can look even. So what I like to do is just follow, again, my natural hair growth and just making sure I'm not going too high so it doesn't look too unnatural, and then just filling that in. Okay, so right eyebrow is done, and now to set them, I always go in with my clear brow gel from Anastasia. This is completely optional, but I do recommend you to do it if you want your eyebrows to stay all day, especially if you live on a really hot climate, because this does make it water resistant and sweat resistant. So if you tend to sweat a lot, set your eyebrows with clear brow gel. Trust me, you're gonna thank me. Alright, so now we zoomed out to complete the face, and for bronzer, I'm using my usual Hourglass Luminous Bronze Light. This is my favorite bronzer of all time. It is really pricey, so if you don't want to purchase this, of course you don't have to. There's tons of amazing bronzers out there. Hoola from Benefit is another one of my all-time favorite bronzers, so I do recommend that one as well. I also like Laguna from NARS, another amazing one. And I also really do like the chocolate one from Too Faced. That one is very nice. It's matte, so it's really good as well. And to apply that, I'm going to be using my angled brush. This one is from Laura Mercier, and actually I think this is a really old one from her. It's called the Angled Chic Contour, but this is just like a regular angled brush. This is the type of brush I always use to apply my bronzer slash contour. So if you haven't tried using this and you're using something else, what the hell are you doing with your life? You should be using it because it makes it 10 times easier for you to apply your bronzer or blush. So, and obviously the point of bronzer and contour is to refine our face and just make it look skinnier, and it's like we just had plastic surgery 5 minutes ago. So what I like to do is pick it up and point the brush like this. And you're always going to start back here, because remember, wherever you place the brush first is where you're going to have the most concentration. Don't start over here because you will have a blob of color right there. You always want to start on the area where you want the most color. For me, or honestly in general, you always want to have the most color back here and almost blend it downward or in the hollows of your cheeks and just make it look very seamless, like it's just coming out of your skin. You never want to make it look like a dark, dirty patch, which I see too often if you ask me. So I'm gonna start right over here, and I'm gonna start doing circular motions and start going downwards. Always doing the circular motions because that makes sure you are blending that to perfection. I like to do what I call the upside down C, which means I'm going from here, up, on my forehead. So I pretty much bronze or contour anywhere that it's in this area right over here, just because it really pulls your face in, it defines it a lot more, it makes it look more bronzy, and just, it defines it a lot more. So the upside down C, don't forget that technique. Also, something I personally believe, because I see it very often, is that people worry so much about like highlight and contour, and how do I highlight and contour, like I have to do it. Honestly, I cannot emphasize enough how you do not have to contour with a cream product every single day. We don't have time for that. Let's be real, we don't. We're probably sitting at home in the morning getting ready, just with 5 minutes on our clock to get ready. So we do not have time to grab any cream products and go and contour our face. So a really easy way to contour is to bronze your skin. And what I mean with that is always going in with a powder product to contour your face or to bronze your face, whatever it is that you do. I personally like to bronze better because, again, I like that luminous bronzy look. Some people like that heavy contour and really defined face. I personally don't like that for my everyday look because I do want to look very natural. So I personally like that really nice and airbrush bronzer. I don't like looking like I have too much contour product on my cheeks, because I feel like that looks really unnatural, especially for every day. Again, no judgment. If that's what you like, that's really up to you. You can apply as much bronzer as you want. I just feel like with a powder product, it's so much easier and so much better for you to achieve that than with a cream product. A lot of people get misled thinking that they need a cream product to highlight and contour, and I disagree. I don't think you have to use a cream product every single time for you to contour. A powder product and an angle brush, or just a smaller brush like this, will be perfect for you to do your regular contouring. Oh, also, I did want to mention, if you do want a sharper contour or a more defined contour, instead of using an angle brush like this is going to give you a more airbrushed, very natural finish, and it's just going to spread everything very nicely. But if you want that sharp contour, use a brush like this. This is the Suva Beauty 180 face brush, and it's almost like that under eye powder, like setting powder brush. So using one like this to contour, it's going to give you a more defined contour. So after making sure that my bronzer is absolutely perfect, I'm going to go in with my blush, and today I'm going to be using the NARS Orgasm. I do have it in a palette like this, so I don't have it single, but NARS Orgasm is super popular and it's a very beautiful blush, although there's a ton of blushes out there that are just as beautiful and you can use them as well. So for the blush, I like to use the exact same brush I used for my bronzer, but instead of applying the product all over the brush, I like to apply it only on the tip. So grab it with the tip of the brush, and that's going to give me more control of where I apply that blush. And taking the brush like this, I'm going to lightly dust it on my cheeks like this. Again, blush is something that people get really confused about because they don't know where to apply it. Honestly, you can apply it like up on your cheeks like this, you can apply it right here. It's really up to you, but if you want that youthful, you know, glow from within or flush from within look, it always goes on the apples of your cheeks, because that's where we naturally flush when our skin does get flushed. So I always like to tell people, if you want to know where to apply it, always smile, and it's going to be right there on the apples of your cheeks. And now for my favorite part of the entire makeup, highlight, of course. For highlighter, I'm going to be using my Becca Cosmetics Champagne Pop highlighter. It is my absolute favorite highlight because I can be seen from a mile away and you will be sure to see my highlight. Like, that's who I am. Yeah, the brush I'm using for it is the Inglot 6SS brush. It is this tapered blending brush like this. I have begun to apply my highlighter with smaller brushes because it does concentrate on the areas where I want to concentrate it. So I'm just gonna grab it on one side of the brush, and I like to start right over here because, again, where you first apply your brush is where you're gonna have the most concentration of product or color. So I'm gonna grab the brush and I'm going to concentrate it first over here, and then I'm going to be pushing it back. I'm gonna be doing the same thing on this side, concentrating over here and then taking it back. And I do want to say, this is something I personally do. I love applying highlighters, specifically more right over here, because that is where the light is going to hit you naturally. So let's say you're taking a selfie and you have your phone out and you're trying for that highlight to be seen on the fucking camera and it's not showing up. That's probably because you didn't take it far back enough. I always like to put it in the middle, like look straight ahead and put it right straight in the middle of my iris. So like right over here is where the light is originally or naturally going to hit you. So that is where I like to apply it. This is how I personally like to do it. You don't have to do it like this. I know a lot of people get freaked out if you take highlighter way too downwards, but that is personally how I like to do it because I do like my selfies. So when I'm taking a selfie, it makes it super easy. Like I'm already seeing it in the camera. I'm looking straight in the camera and you can see that right there. Something I realized is that I did not contour my nose. Who the fuck am I? I don't know. But to contour my nose, I always take my eye blending brush to contour it. I have been liking a more chiseled nose. So the more chisel you want it, the more defined you want your contour to be, always take a smaller brush so you can define that nose, girl. And just go like this. Also, I am using my face bronzer for this. So, yeah. Last but not least, for the highlighter, this is like my signature move. I like doing this on everybody. I feel like it looks so beautiful and it just opens up the eyes so much more. Is I apply highlighter on my inner corner and I'm applying it with the Inglot 10S brush, which is a super tiny blending brush like this. And I'm applying that on my inner corners. And what that does is that makes you look so much more awake and it makes your eyes just open up like crazy. And I also like to apply it on my brow bone because I do like to make that stand out a little bit. Also, just to finish up my eyes, again, this is totally optional, but I like to do this because I do like to make my eyes look a little bit more defined. I'm going to be grabbing the same brush that I use for my nose contour, and this is an eye blending brush. This is the Suiva 228 Luxe crease. And applying my bronzer on my crease, especially a little bit more up from my natural crease, because this does make your eyes open up a ton more. And I feel like this trick really helps a lot of people when I tell them. So I always like to do that personally. So of course, we're not gonna skip mascara. Mascara is like one of the most important things you can do for your eyes. So the one that I've recently been using is the Bad Gal Bang from Benefit. I like the brush because it's super thin, so it makes sure that I apply enough product on each and every one of my lashes. Sometimes I do feel like it could get a little bit too clumpy and I don't like that, which is why I never go back in the mascara tube to get more product, because I feel like the brush already deposits enough product on my lashes and I don't like it when it looks super clumpy. So now the last thing is of course lips. I always leave my lips for last. So what I always like to do is remove that like excess foundation that you get on your lips after you apply your foundation. I always get that. I'm pretty sure you do as well. So I just remove that with a tissue. And then after I remove it, I go in with my foundation brush and just buff that in, because you don't want that halo around your lips, because when we do remove like anything from our lips, like any lipstick or anything like that, we do get that halo because you remove some of the foundation. So you just want to make sure that that foundation is still there. For lip liner, I'm going to be using the Morphe Chippy Lip Liner. The best lip liners I've ever tried have been the MAC Pro Longwear lip liners, which they've discontinued a lot of the colors and I'm really fucking pissed about that. The MAC just regular lip liners, again, amazing, but if you want something that lasts literally all day after making out with your boyfriend slash girlfriend slash whatever, they're gonna last all day. So the MAC Pro Longwears are the best ones. The Laura Mercier lip liners, another ones that are amazing, a little bit pricey, but they're also really good if you're in Sephora and you really need a lip liner. The Laura Mercier are probably my favorite ones. And my top ones, the ones that I've been using a lot lately on myself, on my clients, I recommend them to everybody. They're really affordable. They're only $4 right now, and they're really long. So obviously I've sharpened this one already, but they're really long. They do last a long time, and they last a long time on your lips, and it just makes sure that, you know, your lipstick stays longer and your lips are printed fine. So Morphe lip liners, baby, $4. Get on this shit. So again, the color I'm grabbing is the color Shippy. If you are going for a nude color, what I recommend is always going for a shade that's just a tiny bit darker than your skin complexion. So if you want a pink nude, then just go for a pink nude that's just slightly darker than your skin complexion. If you wear something that's too light around your lips as a liner, it's probably just not gonna work, and you're not gonna like it because it's just going to look very muted, and you definitely just want your lips to look very defined and all of that. So I cannot talk while I do my lip liner, so I'm just going to play forward through it. But a few tips and tricks that I can give you guys is, if you want to outline your lips and make them appear a little bit bigger, makeup is all about an illusion. So the best thing that I can tell you, the best trick that I can tell you is, instead of going with your natural lip contour, just take it a little bit more down, especially on your bottom lip. If you need more help on your bottom lip, take the lip liner a little bit more down, because if you do, you're almost creating a shadow right there and you're just making it appear bigger. Again, makeup is all about that illusion, and it's just enhancing your own natural beauty. So if you feel like your lips need a little bit more help, just go a little bit more down, create that shadow, create that illusion. So I just finished lining my lips, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, it's not the best I've ever done. Like, that's just me being honest, and I want to be honest with you because anything that you do as far as your makeup, it's not always gonna come out right. Sometimes we're rushing, sometimes we're not paying attention enough, sometimes we're not even trying enough, and it just doesn't come out the best, and that's absolutely fine, because again, you can always wipe it off. In my case, I always just like to make it work, so that's what I did today. I just made it work. And obviously, yes, I overlined my lips a lot, but some of us are not blessed with really full lips and money to buy lip fillers. So I overline my lips because makeup is absolutely fucking awesome, and you can make any type of illusion you want with it. So excuse me while I go overline my lips a little bit more and make them look a little bit bigger, so I look like a knockoff version of Kylie Jenner. So last but not least, I always like to apply a little bit of lip balm or lip gloss on top of my lip liner. As you guys saw, I do fill in my entire lips with the lip liner because I do feel like it lasts longer. I rarely use lipstick nowadays, to be honest with you. I mostly just use lip liners, but if you like lipsticks better, that is totally up to you. I just feel like lip liners last longer, and I like the matte look, and the Morphe ones are very, very smooth and like moisturizing. I feel like they never dry my lips, so I just use lip liner. So to top off my lips, I'm going to be applying the Glossier MangoBalm.com. It is the best fucking lip balm you will ever try in your life. Like, I'm not even lying. Best lip balm ever. I also like the fact that they make your lips appear like the tiniest bit glossy, but it's a lip balm and it feels amazing and it smells amazing. It smells like mangoes, like legit mangoes. So the very last thing we're going to do is set our face, or set this beat, because we want to make sure that this stays all day long. Like, we spent a long time trying to perfect this, so we just want to make sure it stays put, okay? And if you haven't set your face, or you don't have a setting spray in hand, I really do recommend to stand up and go buy yourself a setting spray, because it makes a huge difference on your makeup durability throughout the day, especially if you have like oily skin. go get yourself a setting spray. It makes a huge difference. I used to believe it was like a taboo thing that, oh, setting spray doesn't help to make my makeup last longer. No, it does. It really does. So if you don't set your face currently and you want your makeup to last all day, definitely use a setting spray. And of course, because like I have mentioned before in the past, I love me a luminous, dewy skin. I just love that look for me. If you don't like that, that's totally fine, and you can just use the Morphe one, which is right over here. I actually use both of these on a day-to-day basis. So the first one I use is the Tarte Ready Set Radiant spray. This one is more for like dry skin and for someone that wants that radiant, dewy glow, and it does separate, so I always shake it before I use it, and then I go ahead and spray it. And after the Radiant Spray, I'm going to use the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist, and this one is the one that's going to make sure that my makeup lasts all day, no budging. Just spray it. And when I mean use setting spray, I mean use the whole fucking bottle. Like if you're not using the whole bottle, what are you doing with your life? That's probably why your makeup's not lasting, because you're not using the whole bottle. Alright, so that is it for me today, guys. I hope you really enjoyed this, and if you watched the entire video all the way through the end, thank you so much, because I know I can ramble for a really long time, but I do really hope that you enjoy this and that you found this resourceful for a lot of knowledge of how to do your own makeup, because I do get a lot of questions asked very often, and I didn't have a very in-depth video of how to do your own makeup, or like the basics of doing your own makeup. If you have any questions, of course, feel free to always reach out to me. I answer to all of my DMs, at least, you know, the ones that I should answer to, and or leave a comment down below if you want to know any more information about anything that I'm using. Just reach out to me. I would love to talk to you, and I would love to know if you liked this video, and if you did, then of course hit that like button, because that's what all YouTubers say, so I'm just gonna sit here and say it as well. Hit that subscribe button if you like me and you would like to see more videos, and hit that like button if you guys would like to see more videos like this. Check out my Instagram if you want to see more pictures, and always follow up on my stories on my Instagram, because I do give a ton of tips and tricks on how to do a specific thing, or I'm just very active in Instagram, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video. So if you want to see more of me, if you want to know more tips and tricks, just go follow me there. It's at Laura Arias MUA, and of course I always like to interact with you guys, so reach out to me and ask me questions. I love to answer all of your questions. Thank you so much for watching again, and I hope you're all having a wonderful day, and I will see you on my next one. Bye.